know.
What is going on, everybody? It's not Tuesday, but every day is a great day to talk some football. You guys all know me. I'm the Loudmouth of the South, SAJ. Normally, we have a little intro to our show where we make announcements about what former studio we're coming from, whether it be like an old restaurant in San Antonio that closed down or whatever. But BD's not here, so we can't really feed off of each other. So, plus half these places you may or may not know, anyways, Coach. So, we're not going to worry about that. But what we are going to talk about is this gentleman right here to my side, the illustrious Coach Stan Bedwell of the San Antonio Toros, the championship winning San Antonio Toros, I might add, right? So little shot at Quincy and company and the rest of the teams in Texas. Not my fault you guys are coming in second, third, and fourth, right? So, Coach, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I cannot tell you how excited I am to have you here.
Yeah, excited to be here, man. I had a good time hanging out, eating some Mexican food with you down in San Antonio, and yeah, it's good to run it back, talk again.
Oh, yes, definitely. Well, and we even hung out at the Toros event at Main Event. That
Yeah,
was
we did.
an incredible time and incredible announcements that were made, history in the making, history on display. It was just a phenomenal time. And I have to tell you, I think we did better. Well, you guys, I mean, I don't work for the team or anything, so I can't really take a whole lot of credit for it. But I think we did better as a team and as a budding fan base than what anybody really expected. I did not expect to see 300 plus people there. I was
Yeah,
expecting 150, 200. And I guarantee no, certain league numbers, uh, but there were over 300 people there. I can guarantee it, legit. And
yeah,
we can
yeah. It
talk
was,
about what that comment means later.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it was an absolute phenomenal event. Great turnout. The mariachi band was phenomenal. All of the connections that the fan base needed to really kind of see what this team was about was on display. You, of course, were there. A lot of the rest of the staff was there, the marketing director, the advertising and social media directors, um, the the, just about everybody, right? Some of the owners, well, in fact, all the owners were there. Uh, it was a phenomenal event. But we can talk about that in a little bit. The main reason why I wanted to bring you on the show is for the opportunity for the fans to kind of get to know you. So why don't we start with the easy questions first, right? Tell us about yourself, where you're from, where you played ball, where you went to school, um, some of the guys maybe that have influenced you to be your coaching style, things like that.
And what order were those in?
First of all, tell us where you're from, what school you went to, where you played, what you played, right?
Yeah.
Let's
So,
go with that.
right, yeah. So I'm originally from a small town in Arkansas called Mineral Springs. It's about a
I
thousand
know,
people,
I know Mineral
and
Springs.
there you go. Yeah, it's about 45 minutes northeast of Texarkana. So, although I'm not from Texas, Texarkana is where we'd always go as a kid or teenager to go out and have fun, do things like that. Um, so played football, baseball, basketball there. Actually went and played baseball for 3 years. I was at Southern Arkansas University, and then I went to a junior college. And I went to Southern Arkansas University. I tore my rotator cuff. Then I went to a junior college after that. And after 2 years of doing that, I kind of realized that the opportunity that I'd had out of high school for baseball, I really didn't have anymore. And my plan was always to coach football. So I just thought, well, I'll find any school in the country that will have me on a football team just so that I can go and learn more about the sport. And I didn't really care if I played or not. I wanted to find somewhere that I could play. So I kind of like sold myself. I was about to be 21, and I kind of sold myself as like a Chris Winkie, like some old accomplished baseball player, but really I hadn't done too much. Um, but ended up I found a school in Ellendale, North Dakota, Trinity Bible College, which is one of the smallest probably colleges in the country of any level, and just a terrible program at a 4 or 5 year losing streak whenever I went there. And, you know, starting quarterback. We went 10-0. Won that's a complete lie too. No, no, it'd be fun to say, but we did win a game. We went 1-9, and yeah, it was a great opportunity for me. But I mean, hell, I didn't start in high school. I went to a high school. We had 23 people. We were the smallest classification in Arkansas in high school, and I didn't start at quarterback there. And so for me, I just thought it was a really cool thing. I played safety. I started at safety our first game because we only had like 30 players. And our quarterback got knocked out, and then I got in. I played the rest of the first game at QB, and then started the next 2 games at QB, and then I popped my AC joint on my throwing shoulder, and I couldn't throw anymore. But I was like, well, hell, I'm not going to let this keep me from playing. So went back to playing safety, and then by like the last 3 or 4 games, I went both ways at safety and receiver. And so then I'm not very athletic. So if I'm starting both ways, that tells you we're not a very good football program. The now defunct Trinity Bible College Lions. The team's not there anymore. But anyways, one of our coaches, Jim Dotson, is our head coach. He had spent some time in Europe working with teams in, I believe, the UK, and had done some tour doing camps. And I'd never even thought about the possibility of playing football in Europe, or really even playing outside of this really small, terrible college football program. I just wanted to learn a little bit, then go back and probably coach at like my high school that I went to or something, and be the running back coach or something. That's kind of what I saw as my future. And but with several talks with Coach Dotson, he, I guess, he got me some contacts, and I ended up going and playing in Basel, Switzerland in 2006. And then I went back to school in Arkansas afterwards just to finish up my education. And in my mind, that was going to be it. I was going to be done with all of that. It was like time to grow up. And we're about midway through that fall semester, and I get because I did terrible in Basel. I was awful. I actually got fired after like 6 games. They sent me home and said, well, we'll just play with the Swiss guy. He's better than you. I mean, hell, I'd never thrown the ball. High school, we were wing T. We were veer in college. We were veer there in Basel. And all I really did was turn and hand the ball off. I wasn't very good. And so for whatever reason, this team in Pori, Finland, which is actually this, if you ever hear of Mike Leach coaching in Finland, it was the team that Mike Leach had been the head coach of. Yeah. So they offered me a contract to come out there and play in 2007. And I went out there, and they were like, yeah, we're going to run spread and throw the ball a lot. And I mean, I probably threw the ball like 20, 25 times a game. But for me, I probably threw more per game than what I'd thrown in my entire career. And like more pass attempts per game. And I think that year I threw for like right at 2,000 yards, and I was like, this is insane. I'm incredible. I threw for 2,000 yards. And so and we took a team that hadn't won more than 3 or 4 games in years, and went undefeated regular season 10-0, then lost by 1 point in the championship game. And the following year I ended up going to Kragujevac, Serbia, which is another program. I mean, that they had been winless the previous year. So we kind of get a trend here that the only teams that wanted to touch me were terrible football teams. So they might be the only place that I'd go, or they're probably the only ones that would take me. And so, I was like, well, it's an opportunity. And so I went there, and they had been 0-7, and we went 8-1 and won the national championship there. And I got like league MVP and returned. And then between 08 and 09 was the first time I actually met up with Coach Mummy, and actually spent more time with Matt, his son, and learned about the air raid. And then I took it back. I re-signed with the same team in Serbia, and I'd thrown for like 200 yards a game that previous year when we won the championship. And we went into that first game and running the air raid, and I threw for like 569 and 7 touchdowns. And I was like, oh, this is fun. And And so like that same year, I had a game that I threw 11 touchdowns, and in the national championship, I threw 9 touchdowns and ran for 1. So ended up being like
Holy,
69 touchdowns in 10 games that year. And I,
that is
I think the
crazy.
Serbian defensive coaches weren't quite ready for the air raid offense at the time because everyone else pretty much ran the ball. But that kind of,
Yeah.
I'd say those 2 years, the combination of, or probably those 3 years, that year of actually doing pretty good in Finland and then winning the championship in Serbia and then repeating and throwing for a ton of yards and touchdowns, that kind of opened up the door for me for a ton of other opportunities within Europe. And then after that, I got a chance to play at some of the better leagues and levels and, some of the best programs in Europe and did well there. So, really, I could say it's some, I guess, inspirational story of perseverance or something. But really, I think a lot of it was just luck. It was
Okay.
luck and learning as I went along. But finished up
Well,
playing everywhere, and throughout Europe, played up until 2019, and then 2020, I went and helped out with Coach Munt because in 2015, Coach Mummy invited me to come coach with him at Belhaven University in Mississippi, and that's where we really built the stronger connection that we've had and continue to have. And like he came out to in 2016, I was in Rome, Italy, with the team, and him and his wife Jacqueline came out and visited there. And in 2020, when he was in the XFL, he brought me to come and help out in camp with them. So I got an opportunity to be around that level, which I thought was really cool. And then the following year, when he got a head coaching job in the spring league, he brought me on to help him run the offense, be the backup quarterback. And so that was kind of for someone from Arkansas that never really got the opportunity to play even in high school, and then went to probably the worst college program in the country. I had a great career in Europe and set a lot of records, won a lot of championships and awards, things like that. But for me, the coolest thing was just getting to come back home and play there in the spring league on Fox and have, everyone from my hometown and all my friends and family be able to watch me on TV and actually, just through a little quick screen. And Ben Putman, one of our receivers, made a great little run and scored a touchdown, but I got to throw a touchdown on national TV. And for me, it was kind of like, I'm not going to do better than this. So I was 36, 37 at the time. I was like, it's probably time to get out and just focus on coaching. That's
yeah.
pretty much where we are. So that's the whole rundown.
Nice. So, what I'm hearing, the overarching theme is that you have a history of taking programs that aren't doing so well and making them champions.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's what you kind of said yourself, right? I mean, you took an 0 and 10 team and turned it around to 10 and 0 essentially, and lost the championship game by 1 point, right? And then you move on to another team, take another losing program. You go, would you say 8 and 1, and you win the national championship
Yeah.
there? So I maybe that's just my positive spin on it, but that's what I'm hearing.
Well, and,
So
and I did that throughout,
let's just say we go with that.
throughout the rest of those years, throughout the, if I think, on through there, because I ended up 2010, I went to Denmark. At 11, I went back to the same team in Serbia, who now have become a powerhouse, and we made it to the European Championship game that year. But just through all the places that when I think of places like 2013, I went to Turku, Finland, and they hadn't won more than 2 games in 5 or 6 years. But I saw that they had the structure there and the athletes that I thought we could win. And, a lot of times with the
Mhm.
line, it's not, I always think it's funny when people say, like, oh, well, the line can't block anybody. It's usually the line doesn't know who to block. And it's a schematic thing more than anything else. And so, I saw that with the line, and I'm like, I think, I can play in that. And I kind of had the awesome opportunity that for most of my career in Europe, I was either offensive coordinator and quarterback or head coach, offensive coordinator, quarterback. So I was the head coach while playing. That was from
Oh
2009
wow.
on, almost every year that I was in Europe, that was the case. And so I went there as head coach in Finland in 2013, and I said that struggled for years, and we went 12 and 0 and outscored teams like 46-6 on average through the whole season. And but we had, I saw the base was there, the talent was there, and then one thing that I always was, and I think maybe in Europe I had a pretty bad reputation. I wasn't liked a lot, and I don't know if it was because I ended up being really successful. That would be maybe the arrogant thought to it, but if I'm trying to be logical about it, it's tough because I've never been a trash talker or like a showboat or anything at all like that. But what I did always do is I would, any team I go to, I would do my damnedest to pull the best players from all the other teams to my team. So I would recruit like crazy other
Okay.
players, and maybe there's becomes this thing of like, oh well, he can't win without getting the best players around him, and maybe that's true. I never thought of myself as a dynamic player. I thought of myself as a point guard that if you can get me, I'm going to make good decisions and take care of the ball, and if you can get me playmakers around me, I'm going to get the ball to them on short passes or whatever, however I can to get it in their hands and let them go make the plays. Because I knew that me physically, I wasn't the guy that was going to do that. And kind of the same thing in Italy in 2015. I went to a team in the Lazio Marines in Rome that hadn't had a winning season in I think 7 or 8 years, and we did the same thing there. They were coming off of I think 1-11 season, and then we went like 10-2. And so yeah, there's definitely been that history almost my whole career of going to places that really hadn't been that good, but there was none that I went to that I was like, they're terrible and I made them good. It's like the pieces were there, and you could see that if we just move this guy here, and if we can get this young guy to come up, maybe pull this guy from another team, and then get a really good American in this spot or that spot, that we could be good. And I think that carries over now. As head coach and general manager of the Toros, I think it carries over in a sense of I know what I'm looking for in building a team and building a coaching staff, and I think when the final product's out there, people are going to be quite pleased with it, because my goal is not to see this. We say it's a double A professional level with the thought of the UFL and CFL being triple A, and yeah, and then obviously NFL would be the major league. But it's my intention to only sign players that I truly believe belong in those leagues. And I'm not talking even long shots of, he's a semi-pro guy that's got talent. And so I think, if he just gets a shot, but it's guys that have either been there or maybe through an injury or something like that, they just missed out on an opportunity or got cut in camp. And the same with staff, with coaching staff. I'm not going to pretend like I've got the greatest resume in the world when it comes to professional football. If you care about Europe, maybe. But really outside of that one season in the spring league where I was a player coach, there's not really much I've done in professional football in America. So for me, the most vital thing was that the other 6 coaches that I hire on staff are guys that have been there and have done that. And then they're going to give our players the confidence of, this is a coach that's been in the league for, 15 years. So I better listen to what he says. And I know he has connections with, GMs and coaches all over. So I think in the last couple of years, I've done a great job of building up some connections with coaches and GMs in some of these leagues, but I'm still a long way away. And so my goal was that for all 6 coaching positions that I hire, I want to hire coaches that I feel like are better coaches than I am. And I actually, I do think very highly of myself as a coach. And I feel like if I can get 6 guys that I think are better than me, then we're going to be pretty damn good this summer.
Oh, guaranteed. So let's talk about that a little bit, because there was some news that broke earlier today that is humongous. I mean, next level kind of announcements that, no offense to our friends up north, um, but I think we're going to be pretty dang awesome. And I'm going to tie our sister Jackie's question in here. Biggest challenges so far in building your coaching staff. By the way, that's 210 Bramacita. That's my sister. That's inked with
Okay.
me. You got a chance to meet her at the event, I
Yeah.
believe. And this woman knows football, right? So you're definitely going to want to make sure you include that
I
in
mean,
your
I
answer.
still
But
have some spots
what
on
are your biggest
staff too.
challenges?
I
Do
said
what,
I still
coach?
have some spots on staff, so maybe we can find something for her.
I mean, she does incredible on design. I'm just saying, most of our cool stuff that you saw in our Facebook, I'm sorry, our store, by the way, the QR code up there, if you guys want to scan it, that will take you to the Texans Talking Football merchandise store. Most of that was definitely assisted with by Sister Jackie. And if you go to our old Horns Forward podcast store, she did all that. And she did some military tribute stuff with our co-host DJ. Incredible, incredible designer. Shameless plug, sorry, not sorry. But let's get back to the football stuff. So let's talk about your choices and the challenges in building your coaching staff. And let's talk about the two that have been announced so far and why.
Okay. Well, as far as challenges of building it up, I mean, originally I thought because I was hired on as offensive coordinator and general manager from Ronnie Ben Clark, who was the original head coach, and I think things would have been a lot easier if he was here because he is a guy that's been in the NFL a long time. He's been in the CFL a long time, and he's been all over Division One football for a long time. So the type of coaches that I'm looking to bring in are guys that he knows and guys that know the type of players that were going to come in. So for me, that was losing him. I was like, I knew it was going to be a lot tougher, but I also saw it as an opportunity to kind of build things in the division that I'd see them. Obviously, any coach is going to be a little bit different when you're in charge. And I think the hardest thing for me was just losing a lot of connections in the professional world, but also in Texas alone because Coach Ben Clark's he's from Texas, been in Texas coaching forever. So when it comes to just maybe calling a local high school coach to ask about a guy, or I mean, he knows every college coach that I've ever mentioned. He knows them well, and so losing that connection that he knew the staff at UTSA, he knew the staff at UIW, at Texas State, or anywhere else, and I don't. So that's tough. There's a lot of, and I could always ask him, and we have a great relationship, and but it's different. They're going to be more willing to help their friend as opposed to the friend of a friend because
Right.
everyone in the coaching world has a friend of a friend. And so
Mhm.
I think that that's been the toughest thing for me. Now, the first coach that I hired was Jesse Thompson, and Jesse was the running back coach for the Brahmas last year. And then Peyton Pardee was a special teams coordinator. And then when he got promoted up,
Mhm.
he promoted Jesse to special teams coordinator. But Jesse's done that he's done it at professional levels. He's done it at the Division I level in college. He's a really good guy. We were both in now, and here's where it all kind of tie in together. So 2021, we're in the spring league as we talked about, and I was with the team called the Linemen, which is pretty cool, off of a power lineman. So a good play on words
Mhm.
there. And then there was the Conquerors, and Jesse was a coach for the Conquerors. So we were all living all four teams. We had four teams in the north, four in the south. We were all in Indianapolis, staying at the same hotel and kind of a hub as COVID was still kind of,
Yeah.
it was still at least a thought for people. And the other group was down in Houston, but Jesse was coaching for the Conquerors there, and you'd see him around the hotel. We'd all eat in the same room and things like that. We'd have food catered in for all meals, and so you'd see him around. You'd see him out at practice, going to practice in the lobby, in the offices, things like that. So I knew the face, but didn't know him personally. And then one night I was out at a karaoke bar downtown, and Jesse walks in, and so we just noticed each other right away as being coaches. So me and him started talking there, hung out that night, and hadn't talked a whole lot since then. But I knew him, and I knew he did a great job coaching, and I liked him a lot. So uh, about as soon as I got the even OCGM job, I had Josh Mayer, our president, told me that, hey, we got an email from this guy, Jesse Thompson, who's interested in being on staff. And I was very excited right away. So he's the first that me and Coach Van Clark were talking to. So this has been, we've been talking for weeks and weeks now. And, we're talking, we build that relationship and we're like, yeah, we're going to do this. And at the same time, he was like, well, my head coach he's basically like, I have a guy that is interested in being the defensive coordinator. And it's who happened to be his head coach in the spring league, which is Jerry Glenville. So, we were all there in that same hub, all eating at the same like tables and stuff that whole summer of 2021. So me and Jerry had rubbed shoulders too, and I got a chance to coach against this defense, and he got a chance to play, against our offense. So we're familiar with each other. He's got a relationship with Coach Mummy, much like I do. And, the day after Jesse had brought up, Coach's name to me, Coach Mummy called me and said, hey, Coach Glenville wants to come coach with you. So he was kind of reaching out to other coaches saying, hey, can you put in a word with Stan, which I thought was really cool because, I see him as he's a giant in the profession. He's a guy that everybody knows. And so for me, I thought it was the coolest thing. Obviously, there's a concern. He's 84 years old. And it's an obvious concern, but, I've talked to a lot of 84-year-old people or some. I don't know how many get to be 84, but but I've talked to, for the guys that I've talked to at that level, what blew me away when I got on the phone with him is just how sharp he is. He's sounds as on point with everything. And, he's a guy that just has stories and story. Anytime I bring up anything at all, he's got 5 stories to tell about that topic. So, he's a guy that just seems to really get it and still be completely on point. And what I love is, there's no telling how much money he's made in the sport. And to be wanting to do this at 84 years old shows me how passionate he is about the sport and that he's not using this as a stepping stone. I doubt he thinks he's going to use this to get back to the NFL, for example. I doubt he would want to go to the NFL. The beautiful thing about this is it's a short season. It's 2 months. So I think the timeline fits really well for him. And for me, it just shows that he's wanting to do this to give back, to help out and just to coach because he wants to be around the sport and he wants to play. And, since we've been talking, which has been about 2 weeks now, week and a half, 2 weeks since we've been talking, every day I'll tell him how excited I am to have him. And at the same time, he tells me, well, I'm even more excited. So this isn't something that he just sees as, yeah, I guess I'll go down there. He's very excited, and we've already we're sending out a contract tonight to our defensive line coach, is a guy that I've coached with at an all-star game in the past, and a guy that coach has had on staff with him at several different places. And so when he brought him up as the guy he wanted at D-line, I got really excited because it's a man that I have a ton of respect for and that I really enjoy being around. And, the names that he's floated out for linebacker and defensive back coach are every bit as high level as the rest. They're all guys that have been at all of these highest levels. And so, any players that come over on that defensive side are going to be in for a treat with just the guys are going to be around every day, learn from, and the connections that they can benefit from that. And, with letting Coach Glenville, one of his requests was that he wanted to have 3 coaches with him on the defensive side. We're allowed 7 total coaches. So initially my thought was myself, 3 on offense, 3 on defense. But then when I was talking to Jesse about that, and he said, well, there's going to be 4 on either side regardless, because I'm going to run the offense. I'm going to call the offense. I always have. And I don't know when or if I would ever give that up. So really it's just going from 4 on O, 3 on D to flipping it over, 4 on D, 3 on O. It's not like I'm going to police Coach Glenville on what he's doing on the defensive side. I'm not going to pretend like I know as much as any of those guys that he's going to be bringing in. So pretty much he's the head coach of the defensive side, and I'll let him do what he does. I know he gets after the quarterback. He plays aggressive. They play fast. They're physical, and it really meshes well with what we do offensively, which is, you know, playing really fast, no huddle, getting off as many plays as we can, throwing the ball all over the place, spreading them out, running it up the middle, all these things. So I think it's going to be a great dynamic, and like I think what we do on offense and defense mesh very well. And then, from some of the ideas I've heard of from Coach Thompson with the special teams, I think it's going to be a perfect fit. And I'm just really excited to get together with all these guys in the summer and work every day and learn from them.
Excellent. So, Sister Jackie asked another good question, and I want to tie something else that you and I had talked about previously, because I don't think it's not forbidden information, but I
Yeah.
think it's something that's unique and it's kind of cool. But so let's talk about the culture that you're trying to build in the locker room. Also, let's talk about, if we can, maybe how you plan on incorporating some other coaches in different positions, like from a volunteer standpoint,
Mhm.
right? And how that is
Yeah.
going to connect with the community, if we can.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the culture, one thing that I've never, from playing years and years, one thing you always hear on every team is like, we're a family, we're a family. And it's all about love y'all boys, you're my family. I don't really buy in. I've never really bought into that from a team standpoint. Now, I think when you're in a college and you're together for 4 years or something like that, which, I mean, that doesn't
Mhm.
happen anymore now. Let's say like the high school level, I can see that as people you've grown up with and you have been really close. But I think it's pretty naive to say that we're going to bring guys in on May 19th and become, best friends right away and brothers right away. And in 2 months,
Right.
there's just, it's just not realistic. It's what people say, but it's
Mhm.
not real. Um, for me, I see it almost like an assembly line of everybody's going to have their job to do. And if we all do it, we're going to put out the product that we're trying to. And in turn, that's going to get everyone else where they want to be. So, for that wide receiver that has aspirations to play in the CFL or NFL, he better hope that that left guard is doing his job. Because if not, our quarterback doesn't have time to get him the ball. And I think that for me, it's just all about, if I were to really talk about culture, it's just about do your job. That everybody understands what their job is, they do it, and they all stay, you know, respectful of who they are and respectful of the guys around them. I'm not, in my mind, I'm not going to be flashy with anything that we do. Um, it's just not who I am. I mean, I met with our management after we did the meet and greet, and they said, as we were putting together the game day, like the game day events and stuff, and they're like, for the runouts, what's your idea for like the runouts? Like, what cool ideas do you have for that? And I said, I don't have any. I said, you guys decide that or let the players decide that. But I was like, I'm not going to be out like running in front of the team with I don't know, a red cape or something or like that,
Yeah,
bringing the
you can't.
torches out. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna have the sword or anything like that, like a bullfighter. I'm probably gonna walk off to the side. And when we get to talking about things like this or talking about football, I can talk at length. And also, I realize that's kind of my job right now in this
Mhm.
position of talking to you is to talk and to give content and let people get to know me. But at the same time,
Right.
I'm pretty dang quiet whenever it's just if I'm just sitting in a setting and it's not talking about football or what we're doing. There's not a lot more than football that I know much about. So I learned from a young age from my dad that if you don't know about something, just shut your mouth. So things like that, I don't care. And I'm not good at answering questions like this, so I just talk for a little bit and then I get quiet and kind of nod and
Mhm.
say, "This is your cue."
Okay. So is it possible that we can talk about some of those volunteer things that we had discussed, or is that
I'm not really sure.
okay? Well, then let's just
I'm
leave that
I'm
on
not
the
I'm
table
not
for
sure
now.
about that, but I mean, the most that I can say is that we are working on ideally a mentorship program where we can bring in some high school coaches from the area and to help us out with, to help us out with practices and, and just get kind of that experience so that they can take that back. They see what it's like coaching in a professional level, and maybe they can take that back and bring something. And at the same time, that gets that engagement of, if their quarterback coach has been helping us out a little bit, then maybe he's a popular guy. And they got, what I'm finding in Texas is I visited about 5 schools while I was there in San Antonio, visiting the head coach and, trying to get out there. When I come back next month, I'll be doing the same thing. And, but what I found was quite amazing is every school I talked to them, like, how many kids do you got from 9 to 12 playing football? And they're all 250, 300. And so when I hear that, I'm just like, man, if half these kids really like this quarterback coach a lot, then maybe we get 100 or 150 of them come to a game, and maybe they bring a friend or a girlfriend, and then maybe they bring a parent or two. And then I'm like, man, just from this one connection with this one coach, maybe that gets us, another 400 fans at a game. And if we can have a handful of those, there's no telling what that could do. So I think it's something that's beneficial for everyone. When we have lower numbers, it helps us out in some ways. And then obviously it's going to open up some opportunities for them, and it's going to help us with marketing.
Yeah. So I agree with what Jackie's saying here, that getting the business attitude is never a bad thing. Leave the theatrics for the game day ops people to do the runouts and the big presentations and whatever. You focus on the business of football because that's what you were hired for. However, I still think even though it's getting to business, you're still focusing on the community relations aspect by making those opportunities to connect with local coaches and things like that, giving them opportunities to volunteer on a higher, more professional level and seeing what that is. The reason I bring up part of that is because I actually know some younger guys that have gone to school, one of the local school districts here, because their dad was big into football. They're big into football. Now they played at a local university. Now they're coaching at a local school district here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're position coaches. One is a tight ends coach. One is a offensive lineman coach. But these are guys that are just kind of getting their feet wet in the game. One has like 3 years in. One, this is his first year. Things like this, right, are going to speak volumes to them, to give them opportunities to see what it's like on the bigger stage and to see if that's something that's for them. And then again, building those connections, because I'm pretty sure that the kids that they're teaching kind of like them a little bit. I mean, heck, I like them, and I'm 3 times their age, right?
Yeah.
These are good kids, but this is a great opportunity, like you said, to connect that community aspect, right? And to show people that, hey, it isn't just a bunch of paid professionals looking to produce a product. You're giving everybody opportunities. The players are getting opportunities to learn their craft and get better at their craft. The coaching is getting their opportunity. The volunteers get their opportunity to learn from guys like you and Glanville and whoever else you guys are going to bring on, which I'm kind of chomping at the bit. I kind of can't wait to find out who the rest of the staff is, but we're going to have to wait, right? That's the best part about a soap opera is you gotta wait, right? Cliffhanger every episode. But I love that there's just naturally a community focus built in to what your game plan for everything is,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I think it's important to be accessible to people and to see people as people, and that's something that I've always done. I don't think I've ever been in any situation where I felt like, okay, I'm really above all of these other people.
Mhm.
It's like, so for me that, there's never a interview that I'm going to turn down, or a fan that I'm not going to be open to meeting, or, anything else. If I have the time and can do it, then I'm willing to do anything I can with anyone that I can help. And yeah.
You talk to us, and that should be proof positive right there that you're willing to talk to anybody.
Yeah, something like that. But but no, and I think that, just going back, with those, touching again on kind of the mentorship program we're working on, should be announced here. I would guess in the next week or two, we'll be announcing a coaching clinic that our staff will be putting on, and it should be sometime in March. I mean,
Nice.
the dates are set. I don't want to say anything and get yelled at,
Right.
but we have dates set in March, and we're going to have a weekend where we have a coaches clinic, and we'll be bringing in hopefully our entire staff. Well, one where we can kind of meet and start to build the cohesiveness together, but
Mhm.
also, like, I've now spent time with our ownership group. None of these guys have, so it gives them a chance to get to know them as well. And we're going to put on a coaching clinic there in San Antonio for invite all the San Antonio high school, middle school coaches, all of them to come and get to hear Coach Glenville talk, and talk blitzes or whatever he's going to talk about. Hear me talk about
Mhm.
probably throwing the ball, and get to hear something from all of our coaches, and maybe even bring in some of the more successful San Antonio high school coaches to come and talk, because honestly, what they hear from a high school coach is probably going to be, it might help them out more than what they're going to hear from any of us.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer, always have been, that the best coaches in the world are in high school, because you have to work with what you've got there. Where at college
Mhm.
you can recruit, and NFL you can pay, and now in college you can pay, and so, like,
Exactly.
everywhere now is kind of like you buy your team, but in high school, for the most part, you're stuck with what you got. And I think that there's just so many brilliant coaches in the high school level, and then you almost anytime you see a coach make that strange jump from high school straight to Division 1 as a position coach or coordinator, or rarely, but sometimes a head coach, they always do a fantastic job. It probably seems a lot easier to them after
Yeah.
working with the you know 5'9", 280 pound freshman O lineman or something that hasn't ever learned how to get in the stance. So it's
Right.
I think that there's real merit to that. So we definitely want to get some of those guys. But in that, looking around that same time, we're going to do an open try. We're going to do one more open tryout for the team. And so, obviously we'd want to bring in as many guys from the San Antonio area that want to come. But then there's also a ton of players that are really talented, but we maybe just want to see in person. Or, between now and then, it's like, you know, it's like, we like you, but maybe they didn't have enough of what we wanted to see on film, or maybe we just want to see how they run certain routes that we do, different things like that. But I anticipate that being a big tryout where you get a big mix of local guys and probably some traveling from far away, and then hopefully a lot of Texas college guys, because we put a real precedence on trying to build up. I'd like to build at least half of our roster of guys that have graduated from colleges in Texas.
That would be incredible. And some of the signings that you've already made, like some of the UTSA players, super excited about that, by the way. Birds up. Love
So
the
we, we,
runners.
we got we got a few more. There's a couple more contracts that are out to UTSA players right now as well. So wait, and we did just sign got a contract from another really big time receiver today that's was an All American and spent time in NFL and CFL. So I like giving these hints right now, right? So then
Yeah,
then, then
just
everybody gets to wonder, who are we talking about?
just just make sure don't spoil the surprise. Like save it for the big announcements, right?
I'm
Um,
just kind of, you heard it here first, folks.
there
So
you go.
there you go. You got it on your pod here. We've announced that we got another big time receiver that y'all will hear about at the end of the week.
That is incredible. You already have at least one that I know of that's phenomenal. I've watched Carpenter play,
Mhm.
and uh, it's not. I mean, I'm going to name drop a little bit, so forgive me. But I know Milton Hope, who's the voice of the UTSA Roadrunners. And by know him, I mean we know each other. We same fantasy football stuff, whatever. We're not
Yeah.
like besties. We don't hang out and go golfing or whatever. He goes golfing all the time because he's
Yeah.
retired and he can. Um, but he he's covered a lot of this stuff. Um, he's the one who's kind of kept me connected with a lot of the UTSA players. Helped the show out by saying, hey, keep an eye on this kid. Make sure that you're watching out for this guy because he's gonna go do things.
Mm.
And Milton has an incredible, phenomenal football mind. And P.S. There's a story behind this, and so let me tell you real quick. Um, we had Milton step in for the last game of season 2 to announce at the Alamo Dome. Our announcer couldn't make it, something happened, whatever. He came in, did a phenomenal job. So we started the whole campaign, hashtag Hope for Hope, to push for Milton to be the voice of the San Antonio Brahmas.
Okay.
And as fate would have it, it worked out. He wound up being our voice. And considering, we would have on average about 12,000 at the game. You've seen the Alamo Dome before.
Yeah.
And that's a 68,000 seat stadium. Milton would get that place rocking like it was probably about 45,000. It's
Mm.
insane, right? Not that I'm shamelessly plugging for Milton. I've already done that with the ownership group. And so I'm not going to try and influence you with that. But again, the local connection, right?
Mm.
That's extremely important because, again, going back to the community and putting in faces that people are going to recognize, right? Carpenter is an incredible wide receiver. You've got a couple of other guys here that have come from some other schools that maybe people don't necessarily know, but once they get out there on the field, they'll get the chance to know them and they'll get the chance to, kind of see some of the stuff that they can do. Like Miko Dotson from Florida State. Probably not going to know him that well here necessarily,
Mm.
although the division, people might recognize the school. Um, but once he gets out on the field and starts lighting people up, people are going to come back. They're going to connect with that guy because he's going to have that that local connection from all the interactions with everybody. So again, I'm fanboying a little bit over the fact that we have a level of connectedness that probably transcends what we've even had before. Okay.
Yeah, and I
And
think, yeah, I think like that would be tying into say like if you think about a team like say the Brahmas that have been here. When you look at that, there was probably not a ton of precedence when building their roster on okay, is this a local guy?
it
And
wasn't
and
before.
for our league in general, but especially with our team, that is something that's important, and we want to get guys that have a connection to San Antonio or surrounding areas, and that's in my mind, I would say if I could get about 10 guys that are from UTSA and UIW, I would be very pleased with that. And there's guys that we've talked to from both schools. There's guys that I'd like to talk to, from the schools that we haven't spoke with yet. So it's definitely something. I think that for me when building the roster, it's not necessarily about having the 100% strongest roster that I can have on the field. I think obviously we want to we want to have a better roster than anybody else we play. But,
Mhm.
If I can do that with, 85% of it and then have the other 15% be strategic to, local guys that are going to have a connection or guys that are going to bring some kind of attention. I know what was the kicker that the Brahmas had last year, destroying or whatever, right? I mean, that's a name that got a lot of people watching it that had never
Mhm.
seen it. And now, I'm not gonna like hire Logan Paul to come be a slot receiver for us or something like that. But
Please don't do that.
but at the same time, I think that is something that plays into the strategy because we want to we're doing great things. Our media guy Ace is doing fantastic. If you look at our social media, it's on par with any professional team at any level of pro football with the amount of content he's putting out and how well it's put together. And for me, it's a shame that there's so many people that aren't seeing that. And so anything that we can do to get out there and get the word out organically, the better. So it's really important to me. I think we're doing a great job. We're building it. We have a great management group. We have great support, and from guys like you as well. And for us, it's so important that we're all doing our job well, but we want people to see it. We want them to come join us for this journey.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this then. If we're reaching out to try and get more spotlight on the league, on the team, specifically on the team, but on the league also. And we've talked a bunch about how this league is different and why it's different, right? But if we're talking about opportunities, you have these upcoming showcases, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Are those going to be open to the public for the fans to maybe be able to come out and check out some of the talent?
Yeah, I fully expect so. I might get told after this, like, no, it's not, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay. Well, let's say definite, maybe.
I would be willing to bet that it's going to be open for whoever wants to come, because I think that's a cool opportunity to get to come and watch these guys and again be around the coaching staff, because our hope is to have our whole coaching staff here for that tryout, and so yeah, I think so.
So it goes without saying, everybody knows I'm a diehard Packers fan, right? One of the things, and I don't know if we ever got a chance to actually speak about it or not, but one of the things that I fell in love with about the team was their community engagement. During training camp, literally, kids line up 5, 6, 7,000 deep, right? Maybe not that many, but there's a ton of kids that go there, and they'll take their bicycles, tricycles, whatever, and get an opportunity to just loan their bicycle to to a player to basically go from Lambeau Field to the Don Hudson Center. It's the training facility, basically an indoor football field, and just talk with that player. It's maybe a 200-yard stretch at the most, but the kids go absolutely nuts for it. They drag their parents from all over the United States, um, just for this opportunity. So I'm kind of thinking that this is going to be somewhat similar to that. Yeah, maybe we're not going to be hanging out with the players and stuff like that, but to be able to watch them and make those connections, right? Hey, number 84 is killing it out there. Man, I hope he makes the roster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I hope so. I think always you got to look at rules of of where we're at and how many people we're allowed to have. There are different things like that, but I all I can say is I believe we will be as accessible as we're allowed to do. We're going to be as accessible as we're allowed to be. So if we can have people there watching and engaged, then we're going to do that.
Excellent. So, Sister Jackie again, with all the great questions. These are going to be open tryouts, so anybody can sign up and go try out for the team. Are you targeting specific people for these tryouts, or how's that all going to break down?
It'll be open tryouts. Anyone will be able to sign up and come, but there will also be guys that we've invited to come to, that the ones that said that we want to see more of. So you get the guys you want to see more of, but then you never know when you get that Vinny Papali type guy that just comes in and really shows out and impresses you. So
okay, so
there's
BD and I could sign up for tryouts too, right? No, don't,
no.
Do not let us out there. We're good for one, maybe two hits, and then we're done for the rest of the year.
And I tell you no, not to be mean, but I tell you no for your own sake, because I kind of like it, and I don't want you to get hurt out there.
Yeah, as the song goes, I'm not as young as I once was, right? Or I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm good once as I ever was. But how's that going to help you when you've got 4 downs to cover, right?
If you want to get out there and sprint down on kickoff once, maybe we can work something out. We'll sign you for a day.
No.
We could let you have a Make-A-Wish touchdown.
No. That's even worse. And thanks, honey. I appreciate you insulting my age. I love you too. That's my fiance, by the way. You get to meet her at some point.
Nice.
We're talking about, and I don't want to say make a wish, but fan involvement. I think I did a shameless plug for this. Um, but this young lady right here, Sister Jackie, I think we talked about this one. She sang the national anthem, right?
Mhm.
That's that was her kind of fulfill my wish kind of thing with the Brahmas. And I know I'm not talking to the right guy for this because that's not going to be your deal. But just throwing it out there, right? Fan involvement like that might make a big impact as well.
Maybe Super Jen is watching right now and saying, "Okay, that sounds like a good idea." But
Maybe I'm
I,
going to
I,
get a scathing text message in a little bit too. I don't know.
I
We'll
mean,
see.
I'm at her mercy. She's the only person in San Antonio I met that so far that I'm a little bit scared of. So,
A little?
anything. I'm trying to appear masculine and tough right now. So
Oh, sir.
don't call me out here.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There's no point in doing that. Jen would destroy both of us.
oh yeah, but she's fantastic, man. But I
Mhm.
don't think we wouldn't be where we're at right now without her, and there's no doubt about that. So it's worth being a little bit scared to see all of the production and connections she's making and all the things she's bringing to the team. So,
Oh
um,
gosh, yes.
but no, I mean, I'm pretty sure anything like that, she's going to be open to ideas from everywhere because that's what she does, and she's really good at it.
Okay. So let's switch it off of football for a little bit now. Okay. You've been here to San Antonio. You've seen a couple of the things that we have here. Um, I got to ask you, what are your thoughts on the breakfast tacos here in San Antonio?
Didn't have time to get in.
Coach, next time you come to town, I'm taking you out for some breakfast tacos.
I would
Okay.
love that. I mean,
On me. Don't worry about it. But I'm going to take you to some of the best spots in town. Just be ready. That's all I
uh,
can
th-
say.
this goes back to Super Jen, and she's got to give me a few minutes of a breathing room there. I think that the problem is, when I was like right now, because I'm bouncing back and forth between here and Tennessee, there's Tennessee and San Antonio, is the weeks that I'm in San Antonio, the schedule is so booked that even the things that I'm doing, it's like, oh, going out to a dinner, like we did with you guys, it's
Mhm.
still business on what we're,
It has
there's no food that's being, there's no food that I've just got to sit down and eat for leisure or, any cool experiences or anything I got to visit. Like I said, it's going to be tough for the spring. We're all working hard to build up the best product that we can, but I really look forward to just getting to May when from that point on it's work, but it's fun. And
right.
there and I think that's the thing that someone that doesn't I guess maybe this not doing this for a living, you might think like, oh well, now you're in the off season. This is like the when you have free time. Yes, you could. I would love it if you delivered homemade Mexican tacos. Uh,
I'm telling you, coach. I'm telling you.
yes. I'm all on board for that. But yeah, I was like I was saying, it's just that you think that football coaches, it's man, you're going to be working so hard when the season gets there. Like, really, in this type situation, the season is kind of the fun part. That's what you're working towards, right? And right now, it's just work nonstop and building a coaching staff, building a roster, and making sure you're getting the right guys and you're vetting out those guys from an injury history and if they have been hurt, like where they at, to character,
Yeah.
to tracking down. The weirdest thing that I've found is if you get a player from in a smaller college, it's so easy to find their highlight films. But
Mhm.
all of these Division One guys, it's almost impossible. You can
Okay.
find like a YouTube cut up, like a YouTube video with all kinds of really cool angles and replays and flashy cutscenes and nice music or whatever, but you're not getting the coaching film that you would actually watch to evaluate players. And I think a big part of that is Huddle is such an easily accessible program that most of the smaller schools use Huddle, where when you get to the bigger schools,
Yes.
they use different programs. And, probably those guys maybe don't have access to build their own highlight like that. They have to go to somebody and say, hey, can you put this together for us? And I think a
Yeah.
lot of them just don't end up doing that. But yeah, that's kind of the hardest thing is finding this guy that was a 3-year starter in the Big 12 and you can't find film on him unless you go on YouTube and just pull up highlights from a certain game and watch. Oh, he's the right tackle here, or
Right.
full games, things like that. So you can do it, but it's a little bit more time consuming.
Right. So again, Sister Jackie, swinging for the fences. How can the fans help you and the team specifically on like game day? What are some things that we can do to help support you guys?
I think with anything, it's just showing up, being there, being loud, being supportive, being strength in numbers. I'm sure they're going to have all kinds of cool things that that our game day staff and other creative people come up with from between now and then. But I mean, for me, it's just, it's we're not playing in the Alamo Dome, so yeah, I'd never dream of us, selling out the Alamo Dome. But I think that we'll have a chance now, playing in a smaller stadium to bring people there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so the more we get there, the better it is, and just add to the atmosphere. Come there, be loud and have fun.
Oh yeah. Well, and we told you BD and I have a special role very specific to the team on the opponent side, harassing the other team. Like that's our role, and we do it quite well, and we're quite proud of it. If you've ever heard of Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets, that's BD and I, the two old guys from the balcony just harassing people.
Yeah,
That's us, right?
yeah.
Um, but there's roles in there for everybody, right? One of the things that we saw in the previous league that I want to encourage people maybe not do the same thing, but bring that same energy, right? The super fans of the UFL, if you will, the people that dressed up in the costumes and did,
Mhm.
the makeup and all the different, horns that people wore and whatever. Um,
Yeah,
help develop something unique to this culture, maybe borrow some things, reintroduce things, if you will, but bring that same energy, right? Because you as a coach, you as a player, you can tell the fans, does it or does it not help when the fans bring that crazy energy and are just going nuts for you guys? That does
absolutely.
help out, right?
Well, I mean, I can say for myself over all the years, if I'm watching like a clip of maybe something where I break 2 or 3 tackles and then you scramble, throw up a ball off my back foot 30 yards downfield, and we have a cool touchdown, or I scramble and then break some tackles and run and dive in and score a touchdown. Anything like that, anytime I make a big play, what I always love the most is seeing the crowd or seeing the guys on my sideline jumping up and down, the high five, and seeing that I was able to affect these people in a positive way and make them excited and make them happy. And so I think that's a huge thing. And yeah, you want to, I mean, it's like, say, if you do karaoke and you're pretty decent at it, you probably, when you step up there to sing, you're singing to get that reaction. You're singing because it feels good to you to hear people like clap and say, "Oh, you did such a great job." Like, "Hey, can you do this song next time?" And no, I mean, it's kind of repayment for the hard work that you put in that they don't see. And, to get that kind of support it's huge. And the way that I see it, when you compare it to, say, like the Brahmas and with the UFL and things like that, when you look at, say, a player standpoint, um, I'm a big football guy. I can't say that, before watching the season or whatever, that I knew 5 of the names from the Brahmas.
Mhm.
It's going to be the same thing. I don't think there's anybody that can really flip on UFL and just say like, oh yeah, I followed this guy, all of these guys through their college career and like the pros. It's guys that are making a name for themselves there. Of course, you get like a Kellen Mond that if you watched SEC football or whatever, watched Texas A&M, but you knew who he was, right? So there
Mhm.
are those guys that you saw, and whether you liked them or didn't like them, they're guys that you saw and you knew. Um,
Mhm.
but the majority of players on the rosters weren't that for most people, and it's going to be
Mhm.
the same way. I mean, we might have more guys that people in San Antonio know than the Brahmas did because maybe they watched UTSA or they watched UIW, and
Right.
so I think that it's some, or maybe they played at a high school in San Antonio. So I think that
Mhm.
in a way, what are you really supporting? Are you supporting this league or this team because you're told that this is the big league and this is the team, or are you supporting it because it's a team that you enjoy watching, that is they're playing for you and representing you? And we're not trying to we're not trying to compete with the UFL as a league and as a team. We're not trying to compete with the Brahmas. Well, what we're trying to do is put out, build the best team that we can and give the best experience we can for all of those that are involved in that, especially means the fans.
I love so much that you address that because I know that's going to be a question on a lot of fans' minds is, you know, are you trying to go up or trying to be better than the UFL? Are you trying to go up against or be better than, the Brahmas or the culture, if you will, that was the Brahmas? And no, you're not. You're trying to establish something completely new. This is a different league, a different team, a different culture, a different everything. But the cool part is that we get to have a say so in that, right? We get to help build this. You're going to pick your coaches, you're going to pick your players, you're going to put out a very specific, high powered offense, a very fast paced defense. You've got your product that you pretty much already know that you're going to put out on the field. The uniforms are picked by you guys on the team, right? The location, the announcers, things like that. We get to control everything else, right? We get to control the atmosphere of the crowd at the games. The announcer is going to have something to do with that. But how we respond, we get to control that. Uh, the extra stuff, the community involvement, things like that's all directly connected to us. And I'm going to stop fanboying because I keep fanboying about that. Is just the connectedness that we have with this team. That, as you said, it's not just us watching a team out there. It's a team that we're connected with. We're
Yeah.
supporting you guys as you're representing us, right? And I love that aspect of it.
Yeah, we just want
But
that,
again,
we just want the opportunity to show everyone what we're building. I mean, I couldn't be Wade Phillips. I'm not trying to be Wade Phillips or Peyton Pardee. I'm not, it's not my goal to overtake or be somebody that I'm not, but I'm going to work to build the best team that we can. And again, put on the best show that we can for the fans that come and support us.
right. And that ties in nicely with what Jackie's saying, consistent football in San Antonio, right? We can go down a whole rabbit hole and do another hour and a half talking about how this league is going to be different and how we can help make that be consistent football here in San Antonio. But we've got like 3 or 4 different episodes that have already covered that. So we would encourage our fans to go back and watch those, especially the show with Mike Kelly and Manny, right? We talked ad nauseum with those guys about how this is different. I want to keep the focus here again on you and your role with it and your kind of efforts to fit in with the culture here in San Antonio and how this isn't just going to be, your team, if you will, but it's our team, right?
It's, it's,
You've already
it's
said that
more
earlier.
your team than my team. I'm a transplant. I'm coming into San Antonio. This is San Antonio's team. It's owned by San Antonians. Like, it's not my team. I'm just part of the puzzle that's working to make this happen. But no, I don't see it as my team. I see it as the city's team.
So right here, right? Jackie herself said she's interested in seeing how you develop the rest of your staff and the team. And she's getting more and more interested as she goes on. And this is kind of a good guidepost for, the fans who are leery about kind of stepping into this arena with us, right? But you're right in the sense that this is our team, right? Because it involves all of us. But you play a kind of a really big role in making that happen. And so while you may not, be steering the ship, right? You're in the wheelhouse. You're helping kind of guide it with the coaches that you pick and the players that you pick, because that's going to help influence and set the tone for the environment here.
Yeah.
And so again, I just want the whole purpose of the show was for fans to get an opportunity to come in, talk to you, ask questions, kind of find out who you are, how you fit in here and everything. And I mean, if we're speaking about transplants, I mean, I'm a transplant. I was born in Wisconsin. And I mean, I think I've adapted pretty well. I mean, the city's accepted me. Uh, I'm pretty sure they'll accept you too. We do have to get you some breakfast tacos and maybe show you how to wear a sombrero properly and
I
do some things like that.
I,
Maybe do some shots.
I look fantastic in the sombrero.
Yeah, but did those pictures ever make it out, by the way?
I hope not. But I did at the meet and greet. I talked to the masked bandito, and I told him that I want him to make me a luchador mask like he was wearing there because I think that's awesome.
Okay.
I'm a big wrestling fan too, so
Well, and
I'm
that's
getting ready for the Royal Rumble this weekend right now.
okay. And that's big in the culture here too, right? And so those are some of the things that can be incorporated into the culture by the fans, right? There were definitely several people that wore luchador masks or some kind of wrestling themed outfit to the previous organization. They could
Mm.
bring some of that over here. You don't have to wear the same colors. It'd be a little bit weird if you did, but I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could. Just kind of be like, hey, we're still here. That's fine, whatever. But the biggest thing is come out and connect, right? Come to the meet and greets and hang out with this guy. He actually sat and talked with me at the meet and greet, and I still don't know why. But come out, connect, hang out with your fellow fans, reconnect with some of the old fans, and just see what it's all about. Don't be afraid to stick your toe in the water. Come check out the organization, check out the league, check out the team, check out this coach. This guy's pretty awesome. I think we're going to do really big things here, Coach.
No
So
doubt.
normally we keep the show at about an hour, and we're horrible at keeping time because we never do an hour. We're always over.
Yeah.
But I also understand you're an hour ahead, and so it's probably getting a little bit late over there for you. So I don't want to keep you too terribly much longer. Um, if there's one thing that you could say to the fans to get them excited, get them engaged, get them to start looking more into this, what would that one thing be?
I just say that what we're putting together is going to be really fun to watch and be a part of. I mean, this isn't going to be low level football. We're going to be a high level. We're going to be coached well. We're going to have top level players, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And I just want them to. I know that as I'm finding out that San Antonio's kind of had an abusive relationship with previous professional football teams over the years.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, and I can understand that there's always going to be a bit of doubt of, what's happening with this one, but it's our team's owned by four guys that absolutely love San Antonio. They love football, and they're not doing this to make money, which I think a lot of people do in these alternate leagues, and
Mhm.
they're not doing this at all for that. They're doing this because there's a void, and they wanted football, and they thought, well, if no one else is going to do it, then we're going to do it. And they've done a fantastic job, and they go above and beyond with everything that they do, say, for me personally. And I mean, I can't even explain the ways that they've done that. And so I've never been treated better from any ownership group that I've worked with anywhere around the world. And I know that what they're doing for me is the same thing that they're going to do for you. And so know that we're working hard for you to make this happen. And we just want maybe a little bit of a benefit of a doubt to come out, check it out, and see that this is something that you're going to enjoy and something that is going to be around for a long time.
Coach, you're pulling at the heartstrings. You're making me tear up a little bit because everything you said is everything I would want somebody in your position to say. Just give it a chance. What's it going to hurt? Give it a chance. Let's see what happens. Coach, I've kept you long enough. From the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you enough for coming on tonight and taking an opportunity to give the fans a chance to ask questions, get to know you a little bit better. I want to give fans or continue to give the fans that opportunity. So if you would like to plug your socials, now would be the time to do that so people can follow you. Don't give them like necessarily your direct access so they, stalk you and stuff, but the socially acceptable social media stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my socials are just, you can search my name. That's, you can search my name on Facebook. Otherwise, it's just at Stan Bedwell. I'm not very creative. So, yeah, so just first and last name, you find me. And then, more important for me is the Toros and, really building a following there, because I say if you just go to any of our socials, you're going to be blown away with the job that Ace is doing, putting this stuff together. So that's, I think on Instagram and Twitter, it's COFL Toros. And then, I think Facebook, you just search San Antonio Toros and it's there, but it's, like I say, he's doing way too good of work for us to have the number of followers we have at this point. I think it's something that, everybody needs to see because he's working hard and doing a great job. And I think that the more people we get there's a lot more like engagement, interaction, contests, giveaways, things like that we can do.
Okay.
But, we got to have somebody to give things away to.
Right. Well, big shout out to Ace. I'll be honest, as a vidcaster who tries to keep up with everything, I can't keep up with everything he puts out. It's
Yeah.
impossible, right? So kudos to Ace for putting all that together and doing such a phenomenal presentation. I was looking at one picture where he did a little bit of artistic liberty and snuck in a logo that probably nobody noticed. And great job, by the way, Ace. That's phenomenal. That's the kind of creative stuff I like to see. But again, we're going to do everything we can to help you guys out. Texans Talking Football is here to support this. First and foremost, it's local football, right? We love local football. And I'm passionate about this because the business plan just makes so much sense to me, right? I don't know why nobody thought of this before. And so it's kind of one of those like when you find that one really good idea and you just go crazy for it, like the Sham Wow or the truck camper or whatever, right? You
My
find that one
Pillow.
thing and you're like, oh
Was it My Pillow? Is that what?
yeah, right. It's that one thing, and you just
Yeah.
kind of latch in, right? This is my one thing. So, anyways, we spent a lot of time. I've taken a lot of your time, Coach. And so again, I'm eternally grateful for you for coming on the show. Um, Looking forward to interacting much more again. And we'll definitely keep our fans abreast of everything that's going on that we can, especially if there are, open tryouts and things like that, opportunities, meet and greets, get-togethers, because I know you guys are going to be doing a lot in the community in the next couple of months. So we'll make sure that we push it as hard as we can.
I think February 13th, we've already got our next meeting or our next event that we're going to do, similar meet and greet type deal. And that's it. Is it Sideliners?
I do believe it is.
I don't know. I don't say this because I don't remember the place. I say it because I don't know San Antonio that well. but I believe
Yeah.
it's. But yeah, that's
Highliners.
I know Sideliners Grill, February 13th. We'll be doing an event there that I believe that's a Friday night, and
Mhm.
I know it's all over our socials right now. It's pinned. I know on our Instagram, I think is the first post. It's pinned in front of the post about me being head coach. So I was kind of disappointed to get knocked down a level on the rung, but yeah, I know there's going to be a live music there. A country artist will be there playing, and we're going to be doing a whole lot of things. And maybe I can talk him into letting me get up on stage and sing with him.
Give it a try, right? It can't be any worse than me singing. So I'm just saying. Um, but yeah, coach, we'll definitely blast it out there. You know, you'll see us there. I'm going to try and round up as many people as I can to go and check it out because I want them to meet you. I want them to hang out with Josh, who is a very familiar face from the previous organization, and just kind of reconnect with everybody and, start giving this a chance like we talked about before.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
again, coach, appreciate you so much. Let me let you get to bed. But thank you so much for coming on the show. Fans, make sure you check out his socials, check out some of his experience, right? Do a Google search on him and see some of the things that coach has put up, some of the records, some of the numbers. Get to know him a little bit better and understand that this is an incredible find for a head coach. And as good as he is, he's already said it himself. He's trying to find people around him that are even better. So we're going to have a pretty formidable team. So Tall City Black Gold, uh, Texas Syndicate, uh, the Dukes, the Iron Men, everybody in the COFL, watch your backs because Texas is about to show you what's real football is all about. Be ready for it, suckers. We'll see you on the next show. Take care. There you go, coach. We'll see you, bud.
all right. Thanks a lot, brother.